Investors Conclave 2019. Give it up for this conclave, ladies and gentlemen. This year, the theme that we've chosen is informed decisions and relationship investing. Something I'm sure the politicians of Maharashtra needed the most. Bad decisions and even worse relationships. But jokes apart, and without wasting much time, let me call upon the man who's behind this event and the brain behind Altina, Mr. Clifton De Silva, to please take the dais. I'll also be calling other promoters, the dignitaries of this conclave. Next up, we have the Managing Director of MAC Hotels, Mr. Edgar Kolta. Please give it up for Mr. Edgar Kolta. MAC Hotels is a Goa-based company engaged in the hospitality business for the last 26 years and is managed by the Kolta family. After listing its shares on the stock market in October 2018, the company has turned very aggressive and has entered an era of growth at high speed. From 52 rooms in September 2018 to 274 rooms present, that's a huge leap. Yes. 274 rooms at present, the company has set itself a target of 1,000 rooms by March 2022. Am I right, sir? 1,000 rooms by March 2022. The expansion will result in a huge increase both in revenues and profit. This is MAC Hotels. Next up, we have the Managing Director of Evans Electric, Mr. Nelson Fernandez. Please give it up for Mr. Nelson Fernandez. Evans Electric was set up in the year 1951. It continued its operations over the years at a steady pace and has the unique destination of never incurring a loss in a financial year since its inception. The company, after listing, is motivated to pursue high growth. It is in the repair business of the electric motors, generators and transformers, which is a high margin business. The company's performance for the financial year 2019 and half year ended financial year 20 has been excellent. For 2019, the company paid a dividend of 22% and the board is scheduled to meet on 30th November to consider an interim dividend. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nelson Fernandez. Next up, we have Mr. Manish Dutt, the Managing Director of VR Films and Studios. This overpowering stature. VR Films and Studios, a successful company, was established in the year 2000 and is managed by Manish Dutt, who has a rich experience in the field of dubbing. The dubbing industry in India is at an inflection point with high growth expected in the years to come. The company is geared up to exploit the super growth to be witnessed in the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Manish Dutt of VR Films and Studios. We also have with us Mr. Avinash Mesquita, the Managing Director of Mesquita Engineering Limited. With the rise in population and incomes and the aspirations of the young population, the consumer durables industry is poised for rapid growth. Though the washing machine industry is still some distance from the inflection point, unlike other white goods, players are now attempting to influence penetration with many new launches and heavy marketing campaigns. Growing disposable income and easy financing options have led to shortened replacement cycles and rising influence of modern lifestyle and has perceived products such as washing machines as utility items rather than luxury goods. The changing perception is expected to benefit the company substantially. And last but not the least, Mr. Amarnath Sharma, the Chairman of Anurup Packaging. India's corrugated box industry is expected to increase at a CAGR double digit between 2018 and 2023 in terms of revenues due to elevating demand from the end user segment in order to store and transport their end products. Anuru is all set to participate in the growth of the sector. Ladies and gentlemen, once again a huge round of applause for our promoters and the panelists tonight. I now like to call upon, the person, as I told you, who is the man behind this event, the brain behind Altina. He's the one whose achievements have left all of us in awe. To formally open this event and to welcome each one of you, please give it up for Mr. Clifton De Silva. Well, before I hand over the days to Mr. Clifton De Silva, let me give you a glimpse of who this man is. His progress, his achievements are just exceptional. He is a man with over 35 years of experience in all facets of the capital market and is the director of the Altina Securities Private Limited, which is a member of the National Stock Exchange and is engaged in the activity of stockbroking and wealth management. Prior to setting up Altina Securities, he was the investment manager and director at Tata's, where he managed the investments of Tata's and was responsible for scaling up their investment portfolio 20 times in a span of just 10 years. Now that is something we need to look forward to. Okay, so a portfolio of 20 times, investment portfolio 20 times in just a span of 10 years. He also successfully managed the portfolios of the Nehru family, Dr. Karan Singh family, the Singhania's family, and a host of other leading business luminaries. Managing portfolios required informed-based decisions, and therefore during this period, he had the opportunity of visiting the facilities as well as interacting with several industrialists who are very large now but were small then, which include the likes of Mukesh Ambani, Sunil Mittal, Kishore Bayani, Narayan Murthy, Anil Agarwal, to name a few. Also, he was the founder editor of the business magazine Fortune India, and in the capacity of editor, he has interacted with promoters of several successful companies and observed that all companies begin their entrepreneurial journey as small companies, but subsequently grow into large companies. Well, I'm sorry for this interruption. And if you feel that this introduction is so long, ladies and gentlemen, I've just finished page 1. The accomplishments that Mr. De Silva has achieved goes way beyond these 2 pages. So yes, he is of the view that small and medium companies is backed by promoters with a vision and a passion to pursue that vision can scale to astronomical heights. With this objective in view, he has taken up upon himself the task of promoting entrepreneurship, especially among small and medium companies, both at the startup level and at the scale-up level. He is instrumental in unlocking hidden values in small and medium companies by listing them on the stock exchanges. In the last 1 year, he has successfully unlocked values in 4 companies: Mac Hotels, VR Films, Mesquita Engineering, and yes, Evans Electric. The value unlocked in these 4 companies over a short period of time is around rupees 100 crore, and in the process, the wealth of rupees 75 crore has been unlocked for the promoters and rupees 25 crore for investors. He is currently in the process of unlocking for more than 25 companies in the small and medium companies over the next 12 to 18 months. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me the honor and the privilege to invite once again Mr. Clifton De Silva to the dais.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. The theme today is on informed decisions and relationship investing. Now, in the brochure contains all about it. So I took a view that since the brochure covers everything, I did not take time of the audience. They could refer to the book, and therefore we could cut down on the presentation. But generally, my observation is that the speech has to be longer than the introduction. So therefore, I am forced to say something which is more than 2 pages. As all of you are aware that there is tremendous potential in the small and medium sector. My experience over the last several years, having visited several hundred companies and having studied the performance and the operations of the companies, there is tremendous potential in the small and medium sector. All companies begin their journey small, whether it is in India Reliance or Biocon or the Adani Group or the Biani Group, all started small. And I was fortunate enough of having met all these management when they were non-entities. And what I observed is that all of them have grown over the years into large conglomerates. The unique point and the unique observation is that all these managements had a vision and a passion to follow that vision with dedication. Be it India or elsewhere in the world, Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, that is Google, Microsoft, Facebook, all these companies started their operations in either a garage or a dormitory. Today, the largest company in the world is Amazon. But in 1997, Amazon was selling, it was a website selling books. From 1997 till date, the company has now graduated into the largest company in the world. And Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world. Jeff Bezos continues to be the richest man in the world after giving $38 billion to his wife in Altina, and yet he is the richest man in the world. So that shows, similarly Facebook, similarly Microsoft, Apple, all started small and have now emerged big. China, Alibaba started small, emerged big. India, there are several examples. So therefore, the scope of the SME sector is enormous, and companies operating within the SME sector is also enormous. My study of, as I said, I visited several companies, and then the profitability and the balance sheets of some of the companies are mind-boggling. Maybe, let me be frank, if you review the balance sheets of some of these companies, you might find them small in terms of profits, but a lot of profits, let me be frank, and the managements are also aware, are not disclosed, they are disclosed after listing. So many of the companies are big, but do not disclose their profits. And I think everybody is aware of that, there is no secret. So therefore, my view is that there is enormous potential in this sector. And if you look at statistics, in every country, the small and medium sector plays a very important role in the development of the economy, and India is no exception. The SME sector has a major role to play in the Indian economy. It contributes about 45% to industrial production, 40% to exports, employs 69 million people, 17% to GDP. There is 5.5 crore of SMEs in India, and what is important is that 90% of all industrial production in India is from the SME sector. It is over 90%. So therefore, if the vision of the government, of the Modi government, is to attain or to migrate from a 2.7 trillion economy today to a 5 trillion economy by 2024-25, it cannot be achieved without the participation of the SME sector, considering the fact that they contribute more than 90% of the industrial production. Therefore, if this vision has to be achieved, then the SME sector will have to participate. And if the SME sector participates, then you can imagine the growth is enormous. So therefore, companies operating in the SME sector have a great potential in the years ahead. Now, as I said, that what is important is informed decisions and relationship investing. We'll come to that later. We will be having, this time we are having a different format. The objective of this conclave is that all shareholders, generally shareholders invest in a company, but they are not aware of the potential of the company. Examples, just an example is that Eicher Motors, an investment of 10,000 in Eicher Motors today is valued at over rupees 900 crores. Now, did investors participate in the journey? Most likely no. Most investors may have not participated in the journey for the simple reason that if they had invested 10,000 and the value had jumped up to 20,000, most investors would have been happy with a 100% return and exited the company, sold off. The others who have not sold off may have feared that there is 20%, there is 100% appreciation at the moment. Perhaps the appreciation that has accrued may evaporate. So out of fear.
Sorry to interrupt, the investment was only 1,000. They came out with an issue of 10 rupees. I have 200 shares at 10 rupees. Sorry.
So you are one of the persons who have participated. You should be lucky.
No, in fact, it happened accidentally. I got a allotment of 400 shares.
Okay.
200 shares could not be dematted. So they remained, and I have not dematted them. Because if I would have dematted them, and the 200 shares just sold was at 2,900. So everybody said 10 rupees share at 29 is very good.
So therefore, even HDFC started with one branch, today 5,000 branches. Maruti started with 1 lakh vehicles, 70. So many would have sold at 2 lakh vehicles or HDFC at 200 branches because they have not tracked and have not been informed about the progress of the company. If you track the performance and you take informed decisions, then you participate in the full growth of the company. Therefore, we believe that investors or shareholders who have invested in companies, specifically in the SME companies, must have access to managements, must know what's happening. Like for example, as Shalin just said, that Mike Hotels is planning from 274 rooms today, 350, the target is 350 rooms by March this next year, 600 rooms next March, 1,000 rooms next March. So now a shareholder may sell at 274 rooms and cut the potential growth, or he may remain in the company without knowing the performance. So therefore, once a target has been achieved, once the target has been set, a shareholder should have access to the management to find out the progress. Let us say, Mike Hotels has promised to 350 rooms. So the shareholder must have access to the management and find out whether the management has met its target, and if the management has not met its target, then the shareholder has a right to question the management, the reason, and if the reasons are valid reasons and reasonable, you continue to remain in the company. But if you find that the reasons are not extendable, you have an option to exit the company. Because informed decision does not mean only participating in wealth, because in participating in wealth creation, there are also companies which have also been responsible for wealth destruction. Just take the case of the Ambani brothers. Mukesh Ambani has created wealth and Anil Ambani has destroyed wealth. So therefore, when wealth is being destroyed and you have a dialogue or you have access to management, you can participate and take an investment decision. So we believe in that is informed decisions, whether wealth creation or wealth destruction. So a shareholder has access to the managements. Right now, we are having a different format. We are having a panel discussion where we will be asking the managements on certain questions. They will answer the questions, which will be followed by a question-answer session. So any one of you, any shareholder or investor, have any doubts about or any clarification can seek it from management. This is how, and therefore informed decision and relationship investment, because we believe that if a company is growing, a shareholder must participate in the growth of the company. Should act as a patient investor or as a co-founder, and with a partnership of the management and the shareholder, wealth can be created. This is one way of creating wealth, rather than most of the investors rely on the price and are unaware, are in the dark what is happening in the company. So basically the objective is, or the view is, that shareholder and management must work in partnership. A shareholder has a right to know what is happening in the company, and the management is responsible, after having taken shareholders' funds, and responsible to ensure that there is adequate or decent returns on the investments. So the whole objective of this conclave is to bring together, one, the management and the management and the shareholders, and develop a partnership and a relationship over a period of time, so that the shareholder is aware that his investment is in safe hands and his investment is getting dividend, and that is the objective of this conclave. So therefore, I think we will have further question and answers and also a panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. De Silva. Without wasting, before we get into the panel discussion, the much awaited event for the night, let me take the opportunity to felicitate each of our promoters here. For this, I'd like to call upon Mrs. Pearl De Silva, wife of Mr. Clifton De Silva. Ma'am, if you could please come at the forefront. The MD of Mac Hotels. Mac Hotels got listed, please ma'am. Mac Hotels got listed on the 4th of October 2018 at an IPO pricing of Rs 24 and currently quoted at Rs 105 after touching a high of Rs 120, an annualized return of 338%. That's Mac Hotels. Next up, I'd like ma'am to felicitate Manish Dutt, the Managing Director of VR Films and Studios. VR Films and Studios got listed on 30th April 2019 at an IPO price of Rs 61 and currently quoted at Rs 130, after touching a high of Rs 180, an annualized return of 200%. VR Films. Next up, we have Mr. Avinash Miskita, the MD of Miskita Engineering. Please, ma'am. Miskita Engineering got listed on the 4th of October 2019 at an IPO price of Rs 27 and currently quotes at Rs 38 after touching a high of Rs 45, an annualized return of 333%. Next up, we have the MD of Evans Electric, Mr. Nelson Fernandez. Evans Electric got listed on the 13th of May 2019 at an IPO price of Rs 52 and is currently quoted at Rs 204 after touching a high of Rs 230. Its annualized return of 580%. Perfect. Last we have Mr. Amarnath Sharma, the chairman of Anurup Packaging. Anurup Packaging Limited got listed on the 21st of November 2019 at an IPO price of Rs 13 and is currently quoted at Rs 14.60, an annualized return of 2,250%. That's the highest so far of year. Since the company got listed on the 21st of November, there is a restructuring of 5% rise. The first 10 days of listing, on the days of listing, the shares moved up to the extent and permitted with no sellers and only buyers. Okay, so that is, the promoters on our panel. But we also have a special person today. He is the backbone. He is instrumental, behind this firm, the Anurup Packaging. So it gives me immense pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to invite to be felicitated Mr. Bharat Sharma. He is the MD of Ganga Pharmacy, but as I said, he is the backbone of Anurup Packaging, and therefore it is upon us to acknowledge that effort that he has put in behind this company, Mr. Bharat Sharma. The investor seeks to acquire companies at reasonable prices for the general health of the capital market. What is needed is long-term investors who seek long-term prospects and invest accordingly. Warren Buffett, the American businessman, says that there is no fundamental difference between buying a business and buying shares in a business. Holding stocks for long-term and working with managements to improve corporate performances is rewarding rather than taking a short-term reward and not participating in the growth of the company. Relationship of investors work with managements to strengthen the business. Investors need to have a co-founder's mindset and participate in the growth of the company. The following are the few companies who have decided to felicitate their large shareholders. Okay, so now let me invite Mac Hotels to felicitate its largest shareholder, Altina Group. Mac Hotels' second shareholder, Mr. Scuba Bus. I'd like Mac Hotels to welcome. Our next company is Evans Electric. Mr. Nelson Fernandez is going to felicitate the first large stakeholder in the company, Mr. Scuba Bus. Oh, so sorry, you had to take your seat again, but please, if you could be near the pillar.
I beat you this time. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, please sit here.
You are telling me I have to come back?
Yes. The second shareholder, Mr. Fernandez, is going to felicitate Mr. Clifton De Silva, the director of Altina Securities. Okay, I'd like to call upon Mrs. Pearl De Silva yet again to be felicitated. The next company, We Are Films. Sir, he is going to, felicitate the first, his first large shareholder, Mr. Scuba Bus again. So, Mr. Manish Dutt is going to felicitate Mr. Scuba Bus. No, you have to Mr. Manish Dutt is going to felicitate his second large shareholder, Mr. De Silva. Mr. Alvito De will felicitate again Mr. Scuba Bus. You can continue sitting here for the panel discussion.
My wife will get excited because it's all no money.
She too should be here then.
What should be in front?
Yes, exactly. The next shareholder in Mosquito Engineering is Altina Group. So I'd like Mr. Avinash to felicitate Mr. De Silva. And finally, we've arrived at the next segment. That's why we're all here for the conclave, the panel discussion. So without much ado, I'd open the panel discussion. We have our moderator, Mr. Clifton De Silva will be the moderator. The panel discussion will be followed by question and answer. So feel free to throw whatever questions you want at them. Alright, and after that, we will go on with our conclusion. Okay, so now Mr. De Silva takes over.
The panel discussion will be a series of questions. We will address them to the management, which after that will be followed by a question answer session. Whatever queries you have after the panel discussion, you are free to address them to the members of the panel. But basically, before we commence, I have always have a view and always shared it with the management that the goal of the management should be one, to aggressively increase revenues, chase revenues, and ruthlessly cut cost. That should be the goal of every management, and that will result in cost leadership. Cost leadership is very important in today's environment. It's cost leadership which you can survive, and many companies where they don't have the cost leadership, they have fallen by the wayside, and companies which have cost leadership continue to grow. So we'll kick off the session with the first most common question. We'll address it first to Mac Hotels, and Mac Hotels, and subsequently every member of the panel will then reply or address the same question. The question is, what is the outlook for your sector? First,
should I stand or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We are in a sector which is tourism, and you all must, I don't know how many of you all know, tourism is one of the fastest growing industry in the world. And particularly in India, we are at a stage where tourism is growing at a very fast pace, even in the current scenario where generally there is a slowdown. Of course, there is a serious slowdown, but tourism sector have shown much better stability. So I think as far as hotel industry is concerned, it's a good time to be in this industry, because also in the domestic market we have a lot of first-time travelers, a lot of people who have started traveling. Traditionally, Gujaratis and Bengalis were known to be travelers, but today if you see, we in Goa get tourists from all over India. And number two important aspect to this is the connectivity. Today, Goa is connected to most of the leading cities in India. I will not use the word metropolitan because we have connectivity even from smaller cities to Goa, and that helps in bringing a lot of tourists, domestic I'm talking about. Of course, international tourists depend on a lot of other factors like exchange rate, so many factors, other destinations of the world. But for tourism in India, particularly Goa, it's a good thing.
Next. Nelson Evans.
The outlook for our sector is fairly stable. I feel conventional power will keep growing for the next 7 to 10 years, especially with the electric vehicle becoming more and more popular. But solar power is also coming up, and till solar power becomes efficient, the conventional electrical power will be of primary importance. When solar power becomes efficient, then I think both will coexist, and then the conventional power in which we are in that business, that will cater to the heavy industries, and solar power will cater to the lighter industries. So it's basically stable. Thank you.
Manish.
Well, the outlook for the entertainment industry looks very rosy because as I always believe, whenever people are depressed, the first thing they go to is entertainment. So in these times, it's like a bit more booming. But jokes apart, besides this, it's a new, the industry is growing. There are new platforms which are emerging. If you look at it, a couple of years back there used to be only theatres which were there. Then came in the television, then came the video, then came the pay TVs. Those were still restricted. But today there is a huge boom with the OTT platform. A new platform is emerging every second day. So, and they all need content. And content is something which is very difficult to create. And it's a content which is needed for 24/7. So earlier the television used to be like from 6 o'clock in the evening to just 11 o'clock in the night. Then it started like 24 hours. Now you have so many platforms which all need content and all trying to outbeat the other. And it's a thing which has the global reach. The easiest way to recreate content is like to localize it in the various languages, which is like, I would say 1/100th lesser the cost of creating content. So that is the kind of scope which is like that. So I think this is just, and a country like India itself, some of my colleagues who are in this business internationally, they like tell me they have to source the whole world to do the kind of business we are doing. But India is one such country which has 22 dialects. And if we get into like localizing each and every dialect, we need not go out of the world. So that is the huge potential which is like there. It looks like very bright and rosy. Thank you.
Avinash.
Hi, this is the washing machine division of IFB, and we are supplying to Conclave USA for telecom parts. We also supply electric motors to Brompton Reeves. IFB recorded the highest sales, actual sales to customers. They got money for not to warehouses, but to sales of 1,08,000 washing machines last month. As we all know, in India, people buy their washing machines or major home appliances during the festival season. So last month, during the month of Diwali, IFB recorded the highest sales in the last 30 years of 1,08,000. So, and we are major suppliers to them, so we have benefited greatly. The telecom industry in India is going through a crisis, you can say, but we are supplying to the market in the US, and the US market is booming. We have got some huge orders which we are presently executing. I have my son here in the audience who looks after operations. We are looking forward to 3 verticals of growth. One is conversion of solar cells to solar panels. One is in-house contract manufacturing of home appliances in our factories under different brand names. And the third one is the logistics and warehousing. For solar cells and solar panels, hardly have we started discussions. We have got orders about 1 megawatt of in Goa itself, which we hope to implement. We cannot get a factory manufacturing these panels. We will import them. We will get them manufactured in India with our brand name, but we will try and execute these orders in this financial year itself. This will be a different game for us because it will not only increase our revenues but increase our profit margins. Warehousing and logistics, again there is a requirement, immediate requirement of 1 lakh to 2 lakh square feet from one company in Goa. If you have come to Goa, you will have noticed that there is a new airport coming up. There are 4-lane, 6-lane to 8-lane highways connecting North Goa to South Goa. The new airport that is coming will have a freight terminal. So we believe there is a lot of opportunity for warehousing and logistics, and we are all set to take full advantage of this opportunity. Thank you very much.
मैं थोड़ा खड़ा रह के बोलूँगा, चलेगा ना? मेरे लिए एकदम नया प्रोग्राम है, अनोखा प्रोग्राम है, और वाकई मैं कैप्टन जी को मैं बहुत बहुत बधाई दूंगा कि ये एक साइंटिफिक वे भी है इन्वेस्टर और प्रोमोटर मीट के लिए। हमारी जो कोरोगेटेड इंडस्ट्री है, मैं तो 2015 ये 95 से ये रनिंग यूनिट थी। हमने ये रनिंग यूनिट एक पूरी कंपनी हमने खरीद ली 2015 में। उसके बाद हमने इसको 4 टाइम विदाउट पब्लिक इश्यू हमने हार्डली 2 करोड़ का टर्नओवर था, हमने उसको 9 करोड़ के टर्नओवर पे हमने विदाउट पब्लिक इश्यू खाली बैंक फाइनेंस में हमने उसे पहुंचाया। और आने वाले दिनों में जिस तरह से ई कॉमर्स बढ़ रहा है, मेरे ख्याल में ई कॉमर्स 20% के ग्रोथ से बढ़ रहा है, और ई कॉमर्स में कोलोकेशन के अलावा कुछ दूसरा लगता नहीं। कहीं पे भी जितने भी सप्लाईज हैं, जितने भी डिलीवरीज हैं, वो कोरोगेटेड बॉक्स के लिए हैं। प्लस जितनी भी इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, वो केमिकल होगी, स्टेशनरी होगी, टॉयज होगी, इवन पेकर्स मूवर्स हैं, लॉजिस्टिक्स हैं, सारे इलेक्ट्रिकल्स है, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स है, सब में हमारा कोलोकेशन अभी भी जा रहा है, वाइड रेंज है। तो मैं कम से कम समझता हूँ करीबन 20-30% ग्रोथ मिनिमम रहना चाहिए, हमारा ऐसा मेरा मानना है। फर्स्ट जो 2021 का जो ग्रोथ है वो करीब 60-70% रहेगा, उसके बाद में 20-25% ग्रोथ ईयरली we expect. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharmaji. 25%, 30% is an excellent growth. It will result, I think, in a lot of wealth creation for shareholders. But the promoters can give an estimate of the question that will be addressed to them is what is the size of the market in which you operate? I would ask Mr. First Mac Hotels to answer, though despite the fact it's a different question, but it will give some idea about the size of the market.
Yeah, basically tourism is a huge market, as I said already. In terms of, to give you all some figure in terms of size, rather than giving the size in terms of the money, I will give how big the industry is in Goa. We have about 43,000 rooms, 43,500 rooms available in Goa, and about almost 75,000 beds available on a single day. So that's the size, and my hotel has just 274. So look at the potential that my hotel has in this huge space.
Next, thank you, Vance.
Market size in our industry, which is the breakdown repair of large.
The film industry is a huge industry. I cannot give you a figure for the entire industry because that will run into like some 10,000 crores or whatever is that thing. But what we are catering to, as in the localization service, that is approximately, you can say, around 150 crores or something at this moment. And this is still a very nascent stage because if you look at the kind of platforms which are emerging, it's nearly just hardly 1/4 of them which are being localized at this moment. But very soon you will have, and it's already started, you have the sports channels also which are being localized. So this thing is growing and growing. So I feel at this moment it's around 150%, 150 crores, but it will definitely be growing at the rate of 20% or 25% per annum. It has to grow. So that's the kind of a potential which we see in this.
20 years ago, it was a luxury to have a washing machine. During Moraji Desai's time, it was a luxury to have a toothpaste because that was taxed as luxury rates at that time. Today, every middle class family wants to have a washing machine, and especially if your neighbor has a washing machine, then there is no chance that your wife is going to allow you to not have a washing machine. So the market has grown in leaps and bounds. Demand has outstripped supply. There are so many multinational companies that have come to India. Despite all these multinational companies' presence in India, IFB, the company we supply to, has a market share of more than 51%, beating stars like LG, Samsung, Bosch in the Indian market today. So they have retained their market share and the majority of the market share. As far as the telecom industry goes, if 5G, which most probably will come into the picture very soon, there will be a requirement of one tower every 1 kilometer. Though it's going to be bad for the birds, they say, because of electromagnetic rays and all that. But there's going to be a huge business for us because we supply antenna parts to all these telecom parts, telecom towers. So I think as India progresses to a 5 trillion economy, we are in a core business which every Indian aspires to have a mobile which works without going off half the time, and a home appliance like a washing machine to make life easier. That's all. Thank you very much.
एक्चुअली कोलुगेटेड बॉक्स जो इंडस्ट्रीज है वो कमोडिटी में आती है और उसका कोई साइज मार्केट का, क्योंकि अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर है तो कुछ फिगर्स भी अवेलेबल नहीं है, पर ह्यूज मार्केट है, इतना मैं बोलूँगा.
Okay. Another question which little difficult to answer, but you can give an estimate. You have an estimated market size. Now, in that market, what is your share right now? If you can give an estimate of what is your share currently, and in the next 1-2 years or in the next 3 years, how you propose to increase your market share, whether by increasing it through fresh geographies or taking share from your competitors. A rough idea if you could give the shareholders and investors.
Yeah, for Mac Hotels, see the share, see in Goa, you have all the top chains running their hotels, right from Marriott's to Taj, and every chain is there. In terms of market share, what we are achieving is very, very, very small. But there's lots that can be done in this space. Because when we talk of tourism for Mac Hotels, it's not just the rooms. We are looking at verticals. We are seriously looking at verticals. Like, for example, training young boys and girls into the industry. providing them jobs. Now what that also will help us to have a cheaper labor for us in our organizations. And similarly, the laundry is related to tourism. So that way we have a lot of scope within the industry to diversify and yet be in the industry. So market share can be increased. In terms of percentages, it may sound, it hardly makes point something or 1% or whatever, but in terms of revenues, it is huge.
In the 300 crore market, our market share is just about 2.5%. And we can increase our market share by proactive marketing. Basically educating the customer that although our costs may be initially higher, because of our quality, the repaired machine will last longer, and actually then the cost of repair works out cheaper if you take the long-term plan. That is our plan for increasing our market share by promoting our quality. Thank you.
When I said the size of market is around 100 to 150 crores, that meant it did not mean it's the size for dubbing or localization alone. It's the entire sound work which is being done, which is like the first generation sound being created for the movies, for television programs, for various other stuff. Now that is one sector we are not touching in at this moment, and we are looking at dubbing, but the scope definitely we are going to be expanding into that section as well. The thing is, with these new emerging platforms, it is much easier and better and more advised to localize already existing content rather than creating fresh sound which is there, and that there is a huge scope in it. I would like to sum it in such a way that we are like a petrol pump. If you come in a Mercedes, we'll fill you petrol. If you come in a rickshaw, we'll give you petrol as well. So we never say no to any client, whether the budget is big like a Netflix or whether it's a small sector which is like very little, because we want to cater to them all, and all these are going to like grow exponentially over it. So there is a huge scope in this, huge. Thank you.
As far as we are concerned, we are already 80% suppliers to our customers, and in some cases 100% suppliers to the customer. You can't go higher than 100% in any case. The customer is growing by about 15, 20, 25% every year on year growth. That's in the home appliances. As far as the telecom industry is concerned, we are directly in competition with China. In some we supply them around 20-25 components. In some components we have beaten China and they are sourcing the entire components from us 100%. In some it's 50-50. So we will definitely increase that quantities as time goes by. As far as our verticals are concerned, in the solar energy we are new entrants. We see the world is our market, because if our Prime Minister is talking about 1 gigawatts of solar power, and so far India has just 20 gigawatts. So there's a huge opportunity. But our aim and our vision is always to be leaders in whatever we do, so that we're going to strive towards that. Thank you.
सर आपका प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन भी डिफिकल्ट था, ये क्वेश्चन भी डिफिकल्ट है, क्योंकि पहले वाले का ही आंसर नहीं मालूम है तो दूसरे वाले का कहाँ से पता होगा। और ये क्वेश्चन प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन से रिलेटेड है, तो मार्केट साइज नहीं पता है तो हमारा शेयरिंग कहाँ से पता चलेगा। पर ये जरूर मैं कहता हूँ कि जिस रेट में मार्केट में कोरुगेटेड बॉक्स मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की ग्रोथ होगी, उससे ज़्यादा रेट में हमारे कंपनी की ग्रोथ होगी। इतना मैं यहाँ आप सब लोगों को बताना चाहूँगा।
Purpose for the benefit of the shareholders, investors, how competitive are you against your competition? Simple.
See, in terms of competition in tourism industry, the only competition is how hospitable you are, how comfortable you can make your guests. We have had customers coming to our hotels for 15 years and above, and they make statements like, if we come to Goa, it is going to be village royal. If we don't get village royal, we won't come to Goa. Now, can you compete with that? There's no competition. If you can make someone feel at home when he's away from home, there's nothing like that. And the most important thing is, if a guest feels he is wanted, he's loved, he's taken care of, I can assure you. I'll give you an example. All Altina security functions are held by citizen. Why? Somebody might give cheaper deal, but Lifton will never go there. Will you? Yeah. Because Clifton knows if he comes here, he doesn't have to bother of anything else. So in tourism, the only competition is yourself. How committed you can be to your guests, how committed you can be to your customers. Today people don't mind paying a little higher price even, especially on a holiday. And they come with their families. They are ready to do anything.
Answering your question, Mr. Bhargav is there. For this program today, I said we will have a program on 24th. Menu pata nahi, I don't know anything. Links mein kya hai pata nahi. I only told him that we have to have this program. Everything has been organized. So to that extent.
That's what how industry works on.
One question to him. I am a shareholder of the company and I am an IPO shareholder. So I have been reading his mail when I go through that. Probably the expansion is not taking place by way of leasing the rooms, not by your own property.
Through leasing only.
The profitability would be much higher in leasing. The profitability would be higher in leasing.
Because there is no capital investment.
Asset light.
See, what happens is in our industry, capital investment is very high. If you want to put up a hotel, the recovery would take many years. But if you have a ready hotel, someone who is mismanaging, those are our target.
Is it easy? Are you able to get the rooms on leasing or the hotels on leasing?
See what happens now. What is good for us is that in our industry, from outside, hotel industry looks very interesting, very easy, very nice, because you see everything is spick and span. But Mr. Bhargava knows what it goes in to do everything. So a lot of people get misled and they think that this is a easy money. Let me tell you, after 26 years I have lost my hair. It is a lot of hard work. So People have put up hotels, particularly small, medium hotels, and they are unable to manage them. So they are looking out for someone, who can spend the sleepless nights and give them the fixed revenue.
Thank you.
There are two markets in which we compete in. One is the motor market, repairs of the motors. That market is very, very competitive. Unless the motor has some peculiar problems, like high vibrations, high temperature and all, then we can step in and we can do a better job than the rest of the competition. The other market is the generator market, where we are already competitive. Thank you.
To compete with our competitors as such, I would say, like earlier, what I gave you an example of a petrol pump. We do not work on a fixed price as such. If you come in a Mercedes, we'll fuel petrol in that. If you come in a rickshaw, we'll give you a container भी लेके उसमें भी हम देंगे. Having said this, the advantage what we have over the others, besides just the pricing, is our network and the way we have expanded with the 65 plus dubbing studios across India. We have clients like Discovery who has been with us over the last 10 years. All they have to give us is a certain amount of programs and say, in a week I need these dubbed in 6 Indian languages. We have the capacity to dub it in our various studios across India simultaneously in 6 languages. There are a lot of dubbing studios across, if you see, and especially in Andheri area. Even a small room they have created it, but they do not have this kind of an infrastructure. So where they would take like 4 days to dub one episode or 6 days to 10 days to dub one feature film, we would dub 8 to 10 localized language within that time span and give it down to the producers. Paramount Pictures is one of our biggest clients, and a theatrical release to happen is to be done in a very secretive kind of a way, because the world sees the movie like on a Friday and we get those movies at least 4 months before the release. Now that cannot happen in an atmosphere which is like you do not have your security systems in place. So these are the kind of things which we provide to the content owners as such, which is why they have faith with us, and it is competitive pricing which matters the most. And in fact, some clients are so sensitive. If you give them a lower price, they think you don't know the work, and if you give them a higher price, they feel you know your work very well. So it works each way, so you have to read your client accordingly. Thank you.
Well, as far as we are concerned, we have beaten competitors off from Turkey. When this product was developed about 6 years ago, a huge change in design, a huge advance in technology. It took us some time to learn this technology. In the meanwhile, the company we were supplying to started importing from Turkey. Now, as you all know, Turkey is a gateway between Europe and Asia. They're huge manufacturers. They supply to most of the companies in Europe. And to beat off a Turkish company with the same quality was very, very difficult, but we achieved it. There was a huge rejection now of the Turkish company, which allowed us an entry and dominate the market. Hence, after that, we are also competing with the supplier to Electrolux. Now, Clifton has told me not to get into technical things, because he says as an engineer we tend to discuss technical things like we discuss normal things in life. But I need to get into technicalities to show you exactly how we have beaten our competitors. The IP machine we supply to has a tolerance of 10 microns. Now, for those of you who do not understand what is a micron, and those of you who have hair, your hair varies in thickness between 30 to 40 microns. We are consistently machining day in and day out between 5 to 6 microns to a maximum tolerance of 10 microns, 24 hours a day. The other competitors, like even Bosch, supposed to be a superior machine, works between 27 to 30 microns, so much higher tolerance band. So we are competitive enough to consistently deliver within 10 microns. That is, proves our capability of the machines as well as the manpower we have. Secondly is, in the telecom industry, we have been able to do things even fastener people all over India have not been able to supply consistently. There have been components we have supplied first time right, and every time right, when the fastener people have failed for about 4 to 5 repeated times. We have won for the last 5 years the Best Supplier Award among 350 suppliers to IFB for quality, cost, delivery and customer response. And these suppliers are not only from India, they suppliers from Korea, Italy, China and Japan. Thank you very much.
देखिए, कंपटीशन तो कौन सा मार्केट में नहीं है, हर बिजनेस में कंपटीशन है। अभी हमारे बिजनेस का कंपटीशन एक एग्जांपल देके बताता हूँ कि जो क्लाइंट 95 में था वो आज भी है। जितने बड़े क्लाइंट थे वो 95 में भी थे और आज भी हैं, और सब के सब मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज हैं। तो सब मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज हैं और 25 साल से हमारे साथ में हैं। तो हम कंपटीशन में कितना खड़े हैं ये बाकी बताने की मुझे लगता है जरूरत नहीं है। दूसरा, और जो क्लाइंट हमने नए जो 2 साल, 1 साल, 3 साल से आए हैं, वो अपना आज समझो हमको 20 टन का काम दे रहे हैं तो 50 टन देने के लिए तैयार है। 100% उनका जो रिक्वायरमेंट है वो हमको देने के लिए तैयार है। हम अब तक नहीं ले रहे थे, अब वर्किंग कैपिटल आया, अब वो भी हम लेंगे। इसलिए जो हमने जो ग्रोथ बोला, तो एज सच कंपटीशन होने के बावजूद भी हमारे रिलेशनशिप, हमारी क्वालिटी, हमारी सर्विसेज, एक भी क्लाइंट हमारा कम हुआ नहीं है, बढ़ रहे हैं। हम उनको जा नहीं रहे थे, अब जाएंगे। थैंक यू।
आपके जो बड़े क्लाइंट मल्टीनेशनल में कौन कौन है?
कैमलिन है, फेबर-कैसल है, पेपेजिन्स है, मेटल टॉयज है।
इनको आप इंडिया के बाहर भी सप्लाई करते हैं? इंडिया में
नहीं, खाली महाराष्ट्र, गोवा, गुजरात, दमन दीव,
वेस्टर्न रीजन।
टोटल टर्नओवर कितने सर आपके?
9 करोड़, टर्नओवर 9 करोड़।
और उसमें नंबर ऑफ क्लाइंट्स टोटल यू गेट है?
2025 हमारे पास में 127 क्लाइंट्स हैं
एक्टिव।
हाँ, जिनको हम जा सकते हैं, पर इस समय सिर्फ 20 क्लाइंट को करीबन डील कर रहे हैं।
सबसे ज़्यादा टर्नओवर किसकी है? मार्केट शेयर आपका मतलब?
कैमलिन है।
कैमलिन।
तो सर, वो आपका एक्सपेंशन आप करेंगे कि ऑलरेडी एक्सपेंशन ऑफिंग था और अब मैन्युफैक्चरिंग मतलब प्रोडक्शन बढ़ जाएगा आपका?
वर्किंग कैपिटल है इसमें।
तो अभी अब एक्सपेंशन करेंगे आप लोग?
मतलब हमारे पास में सेमी ऑटोमेटिक मशीन सब है, हम उसको एक शिफ्ट में चला रहे हैं। वर्किंग कैपिटल के कारण हमारा एक्सपेंशन रुका हुआ था, तो वर्किंग कैपिटल में पैसा लगा।
तो उसे 1 शिफ्ट की जगह 2 शिफ्ट है, 3
2
शिफ्ट
शिफ्ट है, 3 शिफ्ट है, इस तरह से।
Will you ever think of coming out with a rights issue? If your turnover is doubling in the next 3 years, profitability also will double. You all expect to come out with a rights issue?
कीर्तन साहब जैसा राय देंगे, वो अभी हमारे फ्रेंड सुपरिटेंडेंट गाइड हैं।
Just listed on 21st November, was oversubscribed 5.5 times. Just 2 days of listing. So, but we believe that what is most precious is equity capital. That has to be guarded. Expansion would be done mainly to internal accruals and not to dilution of capital. So companies which preserve capital and do not resort to expanding of capital are companies which create wealth. So all companies here are with an objective of creating wealth. So a decision will be taken. It's just that two days back, and I think they have got a record of being 5.5 times oversubscribed.
7 times in retail.
रिटेल 7 times मतलब इस मंदे मार्केट में अगर तो
कर्टसी सर आपने कोई एडवर्टाइजमेंट नहीं था, कुछ नहीं था, कौन जानता है?
कौन है
None of the companies advertised. इसने भी advertise नहीं किया.
Sir, Ganga Pharmacy, what is your connection over there?
गंगा फार्मास्यूटिकल लिमिटेड
What
मेरे
is
कोई
your
No,
ये
he's-
मेरे फैमिली फ्रेंड है
he's Right and philosopher. ऐसी बात है. So anyway, what we'll do is that I restrict myself to 2 or 3 questions, and then we'll open the house to the question answer session. 2 or 3 important questions. One is, this is an era of disruption, and you know that so many sectors have got outdated in an environment of disruption. So what is important is that there may be growth for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, but how relevant are your products 10 years from today? Today, if you look at companies like Bajaj Auto, Maruti, despite the fact that they have done well, their discounting in terms of price earning ratios is not very high compared to Hindustan Lever or the FMCGs. Because as far as the investor perception is concerned, Hindustan Lever may be manufacturing soaps or hair oils, that product will remain and will not be disrupted. It will remain for n number of years. But there are certain products which may be disrupted. They may be relevant in the first 5 years, next 5 years they may be irrelevant. So I would like to pose a question to the management. In your present environment and in the present product, how do you see yourself being affected by disruption, or how do you think you will overcome that? This may be a little difficult question, but easy to
All questions are difficult. But see, disruptions are order of the day. Today, if any of us have to survive, we have to be prepared for disruptions. If gone are those days where everything was managed by the government, and today it is competitive. Everyone comes with a fresh idea, new idea, disruptive idea, and we have to evolve and cope up with these disruptions. In terms of tourism also, there are so many new concepts coming in terms of tourism industry. It may seem very simple, but technology is one of the important aspects in our industry. The latest, what I've just heard is, in China there is one group, they have come up with the concept of carry forward. Now, if you stay in a hotel for, say, 1.5 days, you have to book for 2 nights. But half the day is getting wasted. Now you can carry forward that. So those 12 hours, what you have not utilizing today, you can utilize on your next visit. Isn't it good? What is happening to the management? You are ensuring that this client comes back to you. So these kind of things are happening in our industry, and we are gearing up for it. See, ours was a family-run business for all these years. Now, after getting listed, we are moving in the direction of getting technology into our organization. We are getting professionals into the organization, and we are also looking at the verticals, as I said earlier, which would also take care of, what happens is that though we have given the figures of rooms, increase of rooms, there are so many other ways where you can make money in the industry. So we are working on all this. We are working on getting an academy where we can train people. We can do trading of hotel items and supply to all the hotels. I told you almost 3,855 hotels are there in Goa. And every season they need something or the other. 43,000 rooms and almost 75,000 beds. So, a lot of scope is there in this industry. Now, these disruptive ideas that come, we have to be open, keep our eyes and ears open, and adapt to them. One way of doing it is remain in the industry, but diversify slightly.
Just a deviation. Bank Hotels. Hello. Bank Hotels had announced scheme for its shareholders, 3 nights free stay at the hotel, which is expiring on 30th November. In the private wing, some of the shareholders were asking, are you planning to design new schemes for them?
See, these schemes will keep on coming. As much as we are keeping our eyes and ears open, you all also have to keep your eyes and ears open. See, we cannot keep a scheme running for years together, because then it won't have the value and the charm that it would create.
PR Film is planning a scheme where the largest and the second largest shareholder, the first largest shareholder, Scubert, will be given a hero's role in next film, and Mr. Alberto the villain.
Our company started in 1951, and over these many years, we have seen a lot of price disruptions coming in with some new entrants, but we found that most of it is short-lived. And we are planning our own technical disruption to push our company up a couple of notches. We did something in the late 70s, early 80s, which helped us a lot, and we are planning something now in the future also. Mainly in the field of energy efficiency and the energy efficiency of repaired machines. But it is a huge leap forward, which we have been thinking about for the last 1.5 years. And if we do it, it will be a major technical disruption in the market, in the repair industry, and we should be able to push ourselves higher up with it. Thank you.
A disruption in the entertainment sector is something which I am not being able to understand. One, because what exactly do you mean by disruption? Is it with a new innovation, the older things, what you were dealing in, goes away? I don't think so. That would be there, because as things are getting evolved, like in the entertainment sector, it's adding a new platform for exposure. And whatever said and done, over the years, whatever new invention happens, whatever new platforms come, the kind of service we are in, the sound will remain a very important element in it. Unless it's like Alamara was a silent film, and those people who are catering to a silent film suddenly talkie aa gaya, so that's a huge disruption. But this is already a talkie era, and it's like adding more and more. Now, one would say a disruption could be like the government saying there has to be one religion, one voice, one language. Even if that is implemented, and all Indians are highly educated and all prefer to speak English, I still know of families which to their kids, वो या तो रेडियो ऑन कर देंगे, अगर हिंदी का है, हिंदी का चैनल कोई लगा के, या उसको कार्टून नेटवर्क दिखाएंगे in that particular language, and the kids to learn that mother tongue is not, he's not learning it from his mother, but he's learning it through the channel. And there are educational channels also which are coming up in that. And you have Google and Facebook who are also entering into this thing. You have Audible's company which has like some 8 lakh books under its umbrella, and which is being like localizing various languages. So it's like earlier people used to read and पढ़ते पढ़ते सो जाते थे. Abhi you don't need to read. You can just put the audible audio book on and finely different atmosphere, keep hearing and you'll go off to sleep. So it's somebody else who's doing the reading for you, which takes you back to your younger youth, not even youth, your childhood days, where you would be reading a book or someone is narrating a story to you and putting you to sleep. So it's all like coming back. So this is a kind of a thing I think the business we are in will only grow and grow and grow. The colors would change, the platforms would change. It's just that. Thank you.
In my mind, there can be two types of disruptions for any industry. One would be related to technology and the other would be related to cost. In technology, our part is used where anything rotates. As it goes around, it needs our part. It's supposed to be the heart of any machine. There are washing machines that are now coming on which are not going to use water. These are already in the design stage. Assuming that we are going to have a shortage of water in future, washing machines are now being designed with detergents and enzymes which are not going to be using water at all. The washing machines are being designed to be kept on your table. A small washing machine which you just put either your shirt or your pant and wash your clothes anytime during the day. So there are a lot of developments coming in, but every development that has come in requires the part to be rotated. And as long as the part rotates, they will have to use our component. That's number one. Number two, as far as cost is concerned, we believe that we are absolutely cost efficient, as Clifton said. We have added a lot of value in terms of automation, and we are absolutely cost efficient. It's very, very difficult to beat us in the cost market today. We have a lot of things on our table, a lot of verticals we are going to, so we will be generating revenues and profits from all these verticals. Thank you very much.
जैसे इंडिविजुअल व्यक्तियों को जीवन में अच्छे दिन आते हैं, बुरे दिन आते हैं, बिजनेस में भी वो दिन आते हैं, और 25 साल की उम्र में जिस भी बिजनेस की होगी वो कम से कम 4 से 5 टाइम अच्छे दिन बुरे दिन सब देख चुके रहती है। और जिन्होंने 25 साल बिजनेस में सफलतापूर्वक निकाल लिए, तो फिर डिस्ट्रप्शन का कोई ऐसा थ्रेट नहीं रहता है कि बिजनेस चलाने वालों को पता है कि जब बुरे दिन आएंगे तो क्या एक्शन करना है। हकीकत में तो ये पिछले 2 साल हिंदुस्तान में रिसेशन नहीं बोलूँगा, डिप्रेशन के वर्ष जा रहे हैं। देयर इज एक्यूट डिप्रेशन इन इंडिया as far as all business are concerned, और उसमें अगर हमारा बिजनेस ग्रो कर रहा है तो कम से कम हम सही लाइन पर जा रहे हैं, ये तो होगा। इसलिए डिस्ट्रप्शन का इतना हमको कुछ थ्रेट लग नहीं रहा है। थैंक यू।
My second last question, but I would like the simple but postponed. Matlab, you need not answer it today. The question is, what is your plan for succession planning? That can answer at some other point of time, but this is something which all stakeholders would like to know at some point of time. Succession planning. I know this is something which is a little premature, so that type of question, maybe you address it and subsequently address it to the shareholders. So I'll get back to the last question and then we'll open the house for question answers. But again, I should appreciate that all the companies, we said 4 companies which are graded well. You have Anurup has just got listed, so you are also in the process of grading well for the shareholders. But 4 companies have unlocked value in a span of less than 1 year. In fact, it's every 6 months of 100 crores and public participation or investors 25%. So 25% means 25 crores of wealth created for shareholders, for investors. It is a solid achievement, and I wish that this trend continues going forward. So therefore, the last question which most of the shareholders would be interested in knowing is that profits. What do you see yourself 3 to 5 years from now in terms of growth? Growth in terms of revenues and profits. Not very difficult estimate.
Yeah. See, as Clifton said, it's not difficult to answer, but also difficult to answer. It's an estimate, but it has to be a relatively realistic estimate. In 3 years' time, we are expecting Mac Hotels to expand to, as we have declared, 1,000 rooms. It's a huge task that we have, and a turnover of at least about 50 crores for the company, and we hope to achieve that with your blessings. Thank you.
Revenue, profit. He mentioned.
Profit margins,
Profit, yeah, 20% rough estimate.
20% of 50 crores. And what is your capital just now?
3 crores.
First, that means you at 3 crores you cannot be migrate to a BSE platform or equity platform. So your market lot will be high, big. The threshold will be high.
No, at 3 crores, it is not 3 crores you can migrate. You should have a capital of 10 crores. Now, let us say in the case of Anurup, the capital post issue 7.65 crores. So possibly can they migrate? Based on capital, you would have an answer no. But the company will issue bonus shares just before migrating. So when you look at the Mac Hotels, we're talking about a capital of 3 crores. There is no need to increase the capital right now because it doesn't benefit by increasing the capital now. You are diluting your equity.
For migration, the capital has to be 5 crores.
10 crores.
10 crores.
Yes. So just before migrating, you issue bonus shares, capitalize, and your capital is 10 crores. So you have to look at a net worth. What is a net worth? So capital has to be 10 crores. Just before migrating, you issue bonus shares and migrate.
Then issue in the ratio of 2:1 in his case.
Our vision is for a growth of about 4-fold in the next 3 years. We are doing now about 7 crores, so we hope to touch around about 28 crores. And profit from about 1 crore to 4 crores. Thank you.
And your equity?
1.37 crores. And 1.37 crores is the equity, and around 7-8 crores is the reserves. In fact, as far as Evans is concerned, if it decides to migrate today, it could migrate today also because it qualifies. The company has got a capital of 1.37 crores, about 7-8 crores in terms of reserves, even for expansion, they do not require any fresh funds because they have about 6 crores in fixed deposits which can be used for expansion. And the potential is that they have got 30,000 square feet factory where only I think 5-10% is utilized. So there's huge scope for growth without capital expenditure, and that is why the company is rewarding the shareholders. Paid a dividend of 22% for the shareholder acquired shares on 13th May, that's the acquisition date, and on 13th May 22% dividend was declared. So shareholder gets dividend for last year without investment. So board is meeting on the 30th of November to declare an interim dividend. Let us assume 22 plus whatever we declare.
What are the criteria of migrating to the main platform?
Just a share capital of 10 crores and shareholders resolution.
But then the share capital has to be 10 crores including reserves, or?
No, 10 crore capital. So what the companies would do is that they would capitalize, issue bonus shares and issue
Again,
bonus shares.
that is the primary, you cannot go to the main board with a lesser.
There's a 10 crores.
And
After 2 years of listing, you can migrate to the main board.
but you can, but you need not and you can. Or
It's
it
an
is-
option, it's an option
It's an
available.
option.
It's an
But
option.
can you have a rights issue and take your capital to 10 crores?
Yes, you can have a fresh issue, but you can do that, yes. Niche is potential.
Yeah. If you look at it, we have a plan of, if we just stick to our dubbing core business, to be like around 50 to 60 crores we would achieve in the next 2 to 3 years. But the various other fields which are verticals which are available in the industry, which we are working on at this moment, if we look at that, it can take it to way beyond 100 crores if you would look at it. Because besides just dubbing, we have another vertical where we import and acquire content which we localize and sub-license to various platforms. And we are having talks of probably coming up with our own channel in the near future, which at this moment we could be in association with an existing channel on a trial basis, try and run it across, since we have the content as such, over the next 1 year to see how it fares or how it goes, to make that move in the future. Yes, I would say it would be like around, say, 60 crores in the next 2 years, and probably more than 100 crores in the next 5 years. And
Profit.
definitely come what may, in the next 2 years, we are moving to the NSE or the BSE main board. Thank you.
I said the profit, they're just mentioning revenue.
What is the
Profit,
equity?
as I say, is like around 15 to 20%. It would continue to exist at that time.
What is your equity just now?
1.37.
All will issue bonus in the ratio of 1:3.
Yeah, we plan to increase our profits from the present 40 lakhs to around 4 crores in about 3 years. And the verticals we are getting into have a profitability margin of about 30 to 35% tested already. So the revenues in that way could be, in about 2 years we could be talking about 15 crores, and in about 4 years we could be talking about 100 crores. So a 10 times increase in profits as on date, and less than 10 times increase in revenues.
What is your equity?
Just for your information, okay, 3 crores, 1.37, 1.37, 2.69, 7.65. Equities.
Till 31st March 2021, sorry, 60% growth minimum in top line, in bottom line both. And thereafter 25% minimum growth yearly.
Okay. Thank you all very much. And these are questions in general. And now we open the house where you have questions in specific, where you can address to any of the promoters.
This question is for all of you. The question is, you see the corporate governance, you look at SME sector. If you look at the corporate governance in SME sector, a simple thing like, say, quarterly results, we don't get, so it's very difficult for us to assess your growth, for one. Now my query over here is, if it is voluntary for you all to give us quarterly results, there's nothing like this. But otherwise it's very difficult to assess what would be your growth. The second thing is the corporate governance for SME sector is not high because they are not forced to have that. And the lot size is an issue. When the price goes up, the lot size should reduce because that threshold is tremendous. As it is, you will have less shareholders and the lot size is high. So what would you all do for that? Would you all be proactive and keep on reducing the lot size? Yes or no?
I'll answer a question. The lot size at the time of the IPO for Mac Hotels was 6,000. Today the lot size is 1,500. The lot size for events at the time of the IPO was 2,000. Today it is 500. The lot size for VR films at the time of the IPO was 2,000. Today it is 1,500. 1,000.
Is it a discretion of
Either BSC will decide on the lot size, and it is reviewed on regular intervals. See, as far as general, but here you don't require quarterly results. When you have the management, you can get daily results.
So when is the next function?
You have an access, and the management will send. They will send news bulletins. Maybe every 2 months, the managements do send bulletins to the shareholders announcing the developments, what has happened to the gap. So we believe that there has to be a complete transparency and complete trust between the management and the shareholder, and that is why it is conclave.
I just want to add something to it. You mentioned you need quarterly results. I just want to ask you, is your opinion on the shareholding or your kind of investment absolutely based on a quarterly result?
No, it helps for us to do some comparison on a quarterly basis.
Okay, I'll just give you an example. Now sometimes what happens, like in these difficult times which is happening, though our company is performing 24/7, we work for 2 months, which was like in August and September, and one of the major clients, they like come up and say, which was to be a major billing of say around 1.5 crores, and they say like, the management has said to request you not to bill for the month of September, let's do it for the month of October. Now that shift is suddenly like a quarter going off from my end, and Clifton like, are you crazy? You said this is the result, now what do I do on that? But I'm like, it's coming in October. So it's like, if it's coming in October, it's of no use till March. But in difficult times, what does a company do to that effect? I mean, your results, quarterly results can be as misleading as your 6 monthly or a yearly, like whatever.
But this
you
can
can
be
decide
calculated
monthly
as
along with that.
to your.
Yes, which we always do, and this is what I'm just giving him a direct reply to the problems which we also face over it. It's not a genuine kind of a thing where the company has flawed and is not performing. There are so many times now you have to even keep your clients happy over it, because they also have this kind of a difficulty. So many a times when we are not getting paid for something, it's not that we say we don't want to work with this client. No problem, you can't pay us now, you pay us in the next month. Which is why we have retained so many clients over so many years. And this is why it's like, you want, as Mr. Clifton said, a daily report, we can even send you that.
So what I'm trying to say, this is a peculiarity of your industry.
No,
It seems to be, doesn't seem to be a rule.
no, this is the same case of events. He will also explain about order.
Yeah, sometimes what happens are orders to execute take around about 6 months. It's a long job. So we start doing a job, and for example, this big job which we were doing in for Chandrapur, a very large rota. We nearly finished the job by September, but we couldn't bill till November, because one particular test had to be performed under some particular supervision which we could not organize. So the whole job was completed, but the billing came only in the month of November.
See,
So these problems take place.
In this kind of case, some managements have a system of issuing monthly communiques or monthly communications.
Yeah, we do. We did send the shareholders some information.
Yes.
My question addressed to Mr. Nielsen, not an investment oriented, more of engineering oriented. You are catering for repair and servicing. Quite often, original equipment manufacturer goes to the. Are you in the manufacturing also?
Yes, you know, the strength of our industry is we manufacture all those components that go for the repair. We don't go to the market and buy it.
No, that's okay. Means ultimately you are servicing the original equipment only. You are not originally designing or something manufacturing on your own.
Yeah, we are not.
Like upcoming solar energy system or maybe electric vehicle, you need to have provided charging units and all the things. Is that you are likely to get in?
No. See, we are basically doing large generators and large motors and large transformers. We are not doing anything for the electric vehicle. The electric vehicle motor is extremely small. We may have to look at that many years down the line. But just now we are not doing anything for the electric vehicle.
But with the technology upgradation, things are likely to phase out such things. Equipment are likely to phase out. People will, maybe the original clients may switch over to new machines. In that case, where your scenario will be?
See, the thing is generators. Power is generated by the generators. So we repair the generators. We are going in more and more into the generator field where we are competitive. And generators will always be there. Now generators could get substituted by solar over a period of time. Say after about 5 years, 7 years, when solar becomes efficient. Then both of them I think will coexist. And even at that time, the conventional generator will be used for the heavy power. For example, cement industry. They use big motors, they can't run it on solar. They require conventional power. And that's where we are there. And I don't think conventional power is going to go away from India for quite a long time.
Would it not be the right time to think about the solar line also?
Not for us, not for us, not for us. Thank you.
One last question. You see, the number of shareholders are few. I only want to know in each company what are the number of shares. I only want to know what are the number of shareholders in each of these companies.
I think our company is 74, approximately.
In our company it is around 115 or 118 something.
400.
We have around 108, out of which I think 4 or 5 are mutual funds.
If you honestly, probably sir, if it is close to 100, there might be, shareholders may not be exactly 100 because husband and wife both are there. For you, they are shareholders separately. But the family would be, I think, total family could be just.
There are two questions for you. One is the decimation of Thomas Cook globally, not in India, and Conclave Mumbai in India, their negative impact. And secondly, the supply of hotel rooms within Goa has been going up, like Fomento has doubled the rooms, and so many others. So how do these two factors impact?
See, when big giants like Thomas Cook and all collapses, it does have an impact. But what happens is that there are a lot of other players around. It's a temporary phase for the industry, but soon other companies will take over that business. That space will be taken over by other companies, bigger, smaller, whatever. And because Thomas Cook has collapsed, people from UK have not stopped coming to Goa. Goa. Air India has started direct flights to Goa from UK just to cater to the tourists. So this space gets occupied or somebody else takes over. What was the
And
second?
additional high supply of rooms.
Yeah, see, if we have to believe our Prime Minister Modi, 2.7 trillion economies, if it is going to go to 5 trillion economy, you know what will be the impact on tourism? How many people? See, you know, in our lifetime, all of you, many of you who are seniors would know that going on a holiday was a dream. Going abroad for a holiday, youngsters would look at the horoscope and ask themselves, will I ever make a trip abroad? Today, just to tell this story, youngsters would laugh. Am I right? They will not even believe this happened. See, travel is become such a important thing. Today, people work hard and they party harder. So every youngster is putting in so much of effort. End of the week, he wants to go to Goa.
Well, another advantage Goa has is it's not a one-time destination. Lot of touristic places where people go to Taj Mahal, they'll click photograph by Obama, everybody goes and clicks and they're satisfied it is there in there. But Goa is not a place to click photographs, they come to enjoy. And every opportunity they find, they are in Goa. And that's why you see all the airlines flights to Goa, anywhere from to Goa and back. Those sectors do extremely
So
well.
my suggestion is you should be the first one in India to start that carry forward. Because
Why not? No, we are seriously
No,
thinking.
see,
we are evolving.
we are keeping all our eyes and ears open to all these disruptive ideas, and we have to see how the logistic of it, how to manage it, and all that. See, the ideas are coming, and we are
all this will
absorbing.
be, all this will be subject to availability of the good. Since you are expanding almost 3-4 times, then maybe, and especially for the off season and all, you can.
No, we also have other plans of maybe going globally also, at least in Southeast Asia. Those plans also.
See, I have attempted last 10 days back. Was it last week? India ASEAN summit in Delhi. All these are all small countries, Cambodia, Myanmar. They are small countries, but the amount of potential that is there in these countries. The Vietnam ambassador was telling 10 years back, if they had to speak of 1 billion trade between India and Vietnam, people would not believe. 10 years down the line, there's a trade of $11 billion between India and Vietnam, and they are planning to increase it to 15 billion the next 2 years, 3 years. This month they are celebrating Vietnam month in India. So they are bringing a lot of business groups to India to enhance the trade. And they are also very much interested in tourism.
So they are coming to
Vietnam is a tourist destination as a thing.
Yeah, but he is very much taken up for Goa.
He is coming up with his full contingent to Goa.
He wants to come in January to meet us from Delhi. See, these are all in process. Where it will end up, we don't know. So we may even start our own charter.
My one more question. The expansion of 1,000 rooms or further expansion in Southeast Asia would be under the same company or would be under a different company?
See, these same companies, but sometimes technically,
No, it can be the
Yeah.
other company can be subsidiary.
yeah,
of it.
subsidiary.
So as shareholder, I am interested.
Yes.
It has to
See,
be-
our intention is to,
Shareholders interested always.
Now, this question I am also marking it to Mr. Miskita because he mentioned a turnover, potential turnover of 100 crores. From I think probably right now you are at 4 crores.
Right now we are about 8 crores.
8 crores. So 8 crores to 100 crores is about
12 times.
So it will be also under the same company or different?
Yes, everything.
Everything will have to be under the same.
Otherwise we'll catch you.
Design the existing companies, no subsidies.
Let's
Even-
grow together.
No diversification.
basically what happens for us also, Clifton has shown us the way, how to unlock the value. And when we know the, unlocking of this value, it doesn't make sense for us to create value somewhere else and hide it. In the sense from the shareholders, we would want to put everything to boost.
No, I understand. No, I appreciate you would not like to be just restricted to 100 shareholders. That is why I am coming. I am a very old investor. Out of 100, if you identify the family could be maybe 70, 80 only. So basically, like I am investing. So when I invest in the name of my wife, also in the name of my HUF.
That's fair enough. What happens is
So now
that
you would also like to grow. This kind of turnover, you would like to grow to maybe thousands and thousands shareholders. So you will have to
but
have it in the same company.
the advantage this so-called 100 shareholders will get, the next 100 will not get.
Actually,
And further and
if
further.
you are going to issue the bonus share in the ratio of 2:1,
So a lot of things will happen. Yeah. See, the people in this room are the lucky ones. I'm talking on behalf of all the companies, because it's for us also. It's like a first child. First child is always special. No? The first shareholders are
As a
always dear
shareholder,
to us.
I think it's a very, very genuine question. All this unlocking should happen in the same company. And that is why his question of sharing the quarterly results also with the shareholder is important. I think we are not even sharing the.
Yeah, see, what happens is that we understand from the shareholders' point of view, there are certain difficulties that the management face
But
on,
at least you can share half
on a
yearly.
short term,
If
as,
not
as
quarterly,
explained.
you can share half yearly.
Half yearly is anyway getting.
You go to site,
I say go to site. No, it is not.
Half yearly you will get.
see, right now SMEs are required to share it half yearly, which is
Okay.
being done. So they are sharing at the BSE
I
site.
think most of the companies half year is also not completed. Some of the companies.
But I think in the case of events,
No, that I see. Nivat I see.
done, we are, Miskita doesn't qualify for this next year. It will be the case of Anu.
So,
Question.
Vivian, in most of these companies, I understand, they would like to go to the main platform. And the main platform, the criteria is 10 crores. And most of these companies are accepting that 7.75 of Adobe. They are at 3 3.5. So there would only be two ways, either by issuing the equity in bonus or by issuing again rights at premium. There can only be two ways. So what would be the way forward?
See, right now. See, we are looking at a net worth. As far as events is concerned, it qualifies.
Why? How do you? They convert the reserves into.
But similarly, MAC, okay, even if they have last year 1.37 crores, they have a reserve, so they are around 5 crores. In the next 1-2 years, if 5 crores in terms of, or they could go for a right issue.
No, I am absolutely okay. The reason is the management also benefits. Because see, right now what you say, they have just unlocked 25%. So if they are issuing a higher bonus, more than 1:1, then the management also gets benefited to that extent. And once your equity increases, then you cannot issue ratio of maybe 2:1 or 3:1.
So just now, the first step would be to, okay, through internal accruals or to existing issue bonus shares. If there is any shortfall, that would be addressed to. And then subsequently, the plans that they have in terms of growth rate will ensure that they keep on having higher and
And
higher.
not necessarily that everybody will go to the main platform exactly
Excite
after
will do
2
it,
years.
that I agree.
It can be
It may be 2.5 years, because it may not coincide with the financial results.
And you can go on main platform from the beginning of the first day of
For first day of listing, you are eligible, yes.
First day of listing, not
First day of listing, 2 years plus 2 years, you are eligible.
and then after 2 years it can be 2.5 years.
It can be 2 and then you have an option. That is option is available to you.
चिल्ड्रन सर एक क्वेश्चन
Yes.
है शायद एक नया रूल आया है कि अगर आपका 10 करोड़ पेडअप कैपिटल है और मार्केट के 25 करोड़ है तो 25 डेज इफ इट रिमेन्स 25 करोड़ मार्केट कैप तो यू नीड नॉट टू wait till 2 years.
You can get exemption, yes. NSC also provides exemption.
I'm right.
Yes.
Thank you.
वो तो शायद this we will see on the site जो आप बता रहे हैं, ठीक है।
नहीं अभी आया है ये जो नहीं अभी आया है 2 साल तक वेट करने का जरूरत नहीं है जैसे मैं बोलूँगा कंटिन्यूस 25 करोड़ से ऊपर मार्केट कैप चल रहा है
वो कितने टाइम तक होना चाहिए?
25 दिन तक
25 दिन तक।
तो वो जब 10 करोड़ का अगर इशू कर दे तो वो दोनों क्राइटेरिया फुलफिल हो रहे हैं तो 2 इयर्स वेट करने का जरूरत नहीं है
Microdels is your 30 plus market cap for more than 6 months. So that's the rule that could qualify. Check on that.
Okay, so I think with that we conclude the question answer round. I have one final question actually, especially to Mr. Kolda. It drew my attention. You said if we have to believe Mr. Modi's 5 trillion economy team, do you believe?
If I had to not believe, you think I would be sitting here and openly facing and telling the plans of the company? See, actually speaking, they say it is not Modi's dream. India is going to achieve $5 trillion, whoever sits on that can. Automatically, India is going to achieve 1 or 2 years here and there, fine. But India has to achieve.
मैडम आप मेरे को अलाउ करेंगे इसका आंसर
Please,
देने के लिए
please. Better होगा कि अगर सब जवाब दे दो.
मेरे को आपके इस क्वेश्चन पर है ना गाइड पिक्चर का एक डायलॉग याद आ रहा है पिक्चर के लास्ट सीन में वो हीरोइन आती है और देवानंद एक संत के गेटअप में रहता है तो महाराज आपको विश्वास है बारिश आएगी तो बोला इतने सारे लोगों को विश्वास है बारिश आएगी और मेरे को इनके विश्वास पे विश्वास है कि बारिश आएगी
Okay, so with this we conclude the Q&A round, the panel discussion. But before we go on to our next segment, I'd like to mention that we have with us someone who turns a year older today. He celebrates his birthday and we'd like to be a part of his special day. So I'd like to invite Mr. Quartus to please come forward. We have your special birthday cake for you. If you could help us with the cake at the center. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Quartus. Happy birthday to you. From old friends and new, from good friends and true. May the good Lord be with you and happiness too. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
This birthday song is also, he has a twin brother also. So it's for him also.
You keep track of all twin brothers.
Of course, patronizing the counter on my left, but also it's imperative on me to thank everyone. You can take your seats, please. To thank all those who've contributed and had their effort behind this event. First and foremost, the panelists on the days. Thank you for enlightening the shareholders and investors, especially with the prospects of future prospects of your company. The investors and shareholders who spend their time, valuable time, and coming for this event. I'd also like to thank Mr. Jitendra Sarthi and his team for covering this event. And lastly, but certainly not the least, the manager of Citizen Hotel, Mr. Vijay Bhargava, for his warm hospitality and service. You can now patronize the service. As I told you, the cocktails, mocktails and food counter is now open. With this, we reach the end of the evening's event. I, Shali Lobo, signs off. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week ahead. Thank you.